Today, class, we're going to have a lot of fun learning about geography. Today, I want to visit an ancient civilization called Greece. Now, if we were to travel from Utah all the way to Greece, how far do you think it would be? Go ahead and write your guess in your notebook. If you guessed about 6,000 miles, then you were right. An airplane travels about 600 miles per hour. If we as a class were to take an airplane all the way to Greece, how long would it take us to get there? If you guessed about 10 hours, then you were right. Now, that is a long ways to travel. So, today we're going to do this field trip on the internet. We're going to do a virtual field trip. We're going to look at the physical features of ancient Greece, and we're going to make inferences about how these physical features helped Greece to be successful and to flourish. I want you to make sure you have your notebook out and you're ready to answer the questions that I'm going to ask you throughout this field trip. First, we're going to look at Greece and its physical features. The first thing you want to notice about Greece is all the water that's surrounding it. Greece is called a peninsula, which means it's surrounded on 3 sides by water. You'll also see that it has smaller peninsulas like these. So you can see it has a lot of access to water. That means that it enjoys many natural harbors and it has a lot of access to travel routes. They could travel by boat, and they also had a lot of access to food or seafood. Here is a map of ancient Greece so you can see what it looked like and what the different regions were called. Ancient Greece had a lot of territory, you'll notice. Now we're going to look at a map that shows all of the many cities that were established in ancient Greece. Ancient Greece consisted of several hundred independent city-states. I want you to pay attention to where these city-states were established. If you look, the turquoise lettering shows the city-states. Write down in your notebook where most of the city-states were located. Are there more city-states up here, or are there more over here? And why? We learn in health that using our decision-making skills can increase the likelihood of positive outcomes. Why would most of the city-states be established near water? Why would that increase the likelihood of positive outcomes? Go ahead and write the answer in your notebook. Now we're going to look more specifically at a specific city-state called Sparta. Sparta was located right here on this peninsula in Greece. Why did Sparta have such a great location? Well, let's check it out. If you look closer, you can see the mountains surrounding where Sparta is located. Why would mountains be important in the location of Sparta? You can also see that Sparta was close to the coast. Not too close, but not too far away. Let's take a closer look. If I drop this little guy into the middle of the city, we can see what surrounds the city. Can you see the mountains? So there are bigger mountains surrounding Sparta, and then even in the city, you can see that there are more mountains that surround. Would this help Sparta to be protected from invasion? Now let's look at some other resources that Sparta had. If we zoom out, we can see that there's a river. If we measured using our ruler tool from the farthest side of the city to the river, we can see that it's about 1.3 miles. In your notebook, I want you to figure out how long it would take someone to walk from the furthest side of the city to the river, thinking that an average person walks 3 miles an hour. If your answer was about 45 minutes, then you're right. The average person would take about 45 minutes to walk from this side of the city to the river, which is not a bad walk, and I'm sure that the river was very helpful in order to sustain the city. Now let's look at another city. This city is called Athens. Athens is the capital of Greece now, and in ancient Greece, it was the center for the arts, for learning, for philosophy. In Athens, there were many famous people born, like Socrates, and Plato had a school there. Athens is also known as the cradle of Western civilization and the birthplace of democracy. That is because it had many cultural and political achievements in the 5th and 4th centuries before Christ, and it continues to influence us. Those findings that they had in the ancient civilization continue to influence us today. Let's take a look at its location. You can see over here there are some mountains here, and mountains here, and it's pretty close to the coast, but not too close. On either side, you can see that it has access to some rivers. Let's look at a map of ancient Athens. Ancient Athens did something interesting to protect itself. They built walls to be able to protect themselves and defend themselves from intruders. They also built long walls going from Athens to this peninsula to have more access to water, and I'm sure to be able to travel to different places. Something very interesting about Athens is that they built an acropolis. An acropolis is a huge city. Acropolis is one of the most important cities in ancient Greece. It's built on a hill that's to defend itself. And on the Acropolis, you can see that they built a lot of famous monuments. If we zoom in, you can see how it was built on a hill. And take a look at this picture of Acropolis. A very important building that was built on the Acropolis is called the Parthenon. Go ahead and go to this website and read about the Parthenon. In your notebook, I would like you to record why this building was important to the Greek culture, to the history, and to their learning. Please record your thoughts, feelings, and ideas about this work of art. I hope you enjoyed this field trip and you learned a little bit more about how physical geography affected the development of this early civilization.